Hello and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in here. Let's get right down to it. I would like to say a few words about the title of our conversation. Awakening takes place now. When else? Indeed, when else would it occur? Now, here in the world, we tend to get frustrated. We get very frustrated. And sometimes we even find ourselves right here in the present moment under a fog, under a dark cloud of despair, thinking that this event, this awakening, enlightenment, realization, call it whatever you will, we think it's never going to happen. We tend to think of it as so far off in the distant future that we can't even approach it. So, what are we to do? You may be having that conversation with yourself right now, and perhaps you've had it in the past. In fact, it's common enough on the spiritual path for us to throw up our hands as we do in the world and think, oh man, what do I have to do? Help me out, will you? What do I have to do? Well, you may want to simply relax and trust the guidance of your inner teacher. There's a message for you today. Awakening takes place now. When else? What do I mean by that? The future's not here. The past is gone. It's not here either. When are we? That's right. When are we? What time is it in a manner of speaking? It's right now. The present moment is what we have. That's all that we have. The past is gone. The future isn't here. When does awakening therefore occur? Now. Everything occurs right now. There is no past, nor is there a future. There's the eternal now. When does awakening occur? Let's say a few more words about that, because the simplicity of these ideas, well, escapes us a lot. And if you find that this course is mind blowing, well, okay, yes. If you find it baffling, that's actually really quite common. It's quite common. And in my experience, everyone who has ever endeavored to study and practice A Course in Miracles has run into some form of confusion and even stupefaction on the path, thinking, what the actual WTAF is this really even talking about? What? Because these ideas run completely contrary to what we've been conditioned to believe. We've been conditioned to believe that we're human beings inhabiting this spinning ball of rock that we've referred to as Earth. We are neither human beings nor are we inhabiting a spinning ball of rock called Earth, and we know this. But we're not taught that here. We're taught that this is us. Yet we know that it's not. I mean, if you didn't know it, you wouldn't be here. So, somewhere, and this is something that bears repeating, which is why it comes up so often in these videos. Somewhere you have heard the call to awaken, and you have answered it. That's why People are interested in spirituality. We've just formulated a thought, whether we were conscious of it at the time or not. Just we've gotten an intuitive hit or an idea, or just a deep inner knowing that there's more to it than just this. There's more to it than the needs of the physical body. There's more to it than that. So let's go deeper into what that really is, shall we? We've been talking about perception here recently and the real world, what this course refers to as the real world, which is perception right side up, true or clarified perception. That is the goal of this course, for us to learn to see things as they are. We do not see them as they are. We're not a body, yet we see ourselves as a body. For example, that's just one example. It's a big one, but it's just one example. We don't see things as they are, so we're engaged in what we refer to as spirituality so that we may set our illusions aside, set the ego aside, set the veil that we've placed over our face aside, and learn to see truly. Who we are, Christ, the Son of God, singular, is still there, has never gone anywhere. Who we are, one with God, has never gone anywhere despite our delusional wanderings, despite our lashing out, judgment, blame, excess activity, frantic excess, anxious, frantic, anxious activity. Gosh, I've said that several times. Despite all of this, who we are has never gone anywhere. We're simply awakening to this. And this awakening does take place right now, because when we look out with the body's eyes, we're looking at the past. There is an analogy, a visual from here in our experience in the world that we can relate to, I think, with this one. And that's looking into a starry sky at night. We're looking at the past, aren't we? Because these stars are so far away from where we appear to be in this convention that we made up called space, that we say that the light from that star takes millions and millions of light years to reach Earth so that we can see it. We're looking at the past, literally. Same. Now, we're not trained to see it that way. What is the present? Eternity. Now, that's the eternal now. God is constant and eternal, and might I add, the only reality. We're one with Him. After all, He created us. Like extends like. Love extends itself. It's present right now. Awakening is indeed accessible right now. So, what do we need in order to bring this about? Well, we need the guidance of our inner teacher, without whom we wouldn't ever be able to awaken, because we would think mistakenly that this is who we are and there's literally no hope at all. And you may be thinking that right now, but there is. We all have access to our inner teacher. It's part of our mind. So it is not an external power. It's not some outside source. Because of this part of our mind that speaks for God. In fact, the Holy Spirit is known widely in A Course in Miracles as the voice for God. We have the ability to awaken right now. So what do? We relax and trust His guidance, put ourselves under His guidance completely. Again, if you fear to appeal to an outside power, let me simply tell you there is no outside power. There is nothing outside you. It's said, and A Course in Miracles talks about it, that the peace of God passeth understanding. Well, it passeth understanding only in the past. In the present, it does not pass our understanding. Not at all. It's eternal. So when do we experience this? Right now. It's here, and you can understand it right now. You may have had glimpses of this. This came up yesterday, coming up again. It's quite common for people to have events, and you can call them whatever you want to call them, awakenings, little awakenings, glimpses. We've all had glimpses of truth. You may argue that you haven't had any in this lifetime. Well, maybe you have not. But we've all had glimpses, and perhaps you haven't had any recently. But we end up going back to the same old, suffering our little games of attack and victimhood, ego clinging, all of that. So how does this all work? Well, we clarify our perception. The way awakening works is we don't see things as they are, but as we learn under the guidance of our inner teacher to do just that, to see things as they are. We dream a peaceful dream. The real world is a dream as well. It's still perception. It's a dream of peace where there is no conflict, only light, love, joy, boundlessness. From there, truth dawns of itself. In other words, we awaken once we have learned to perceive truly, once we have attained what this course refers to as the real world, which is a peaceful dream, we awaken. It's said that God takes that final step, the translation from perception to knowledge himself. Love simply awaits our welcome And the real world is our welcome of love. It's the welcome of what has always been and what is now, because there is no fear in it. There's nothing to block it. So it simply dawns of itself. When we've learned to perceive truly, truth dawns of itself. So, what happens as we go along is we increasingly dream a more peaceful dream. And once the dream is completely peaceful, it ends and is translated into knowledge. That's enlightenment, full enlightenment, not glimpses, but full, complete awakening. So, if you're newer to this material, or perhaps you're just checking this out, you may have heard some things that sound, well, again, as we mentioned earlier, far off, inaccessible, and completely esoteric, that completely fly in the face with what we deem conventional wisdom in the world. How's conventional wisdom working out for you? I know it's not because you're watching this. You're interested in spirituality, which means, again, you've heard the call of our inner teacher and you've responded. We can't go back. Even if you really wanted to, you'd not be able to go back to the way things were. You're on the path. Congratulations. How far you choose to go right now is completely up to you. Indeed, how far you choose to allow yourself to be led in this lifetime is, again, completely up to you. You may choose not to be led one further step, or perhaps you will. It's, again, your choice. So, people often ask me, and it's a great practical question, how do I know that this is actually working for me? Good question, isn't it? Because here we are, we sit and we talk about what we refer to as the metaphysics of the Course. And its workings, its inner workings, its ideas and principles, all of that, what it says, what it means. We sit here and we talk about it, but real learning is far beyond the intellect. You can only get so far with the intellectual thinking mind before you recognize how extraordinarily limited that is. For sure, isn't it? The intellectual thinking mind is like a very sharp razor blade or a scalpel that slices and dices reality. It dissects and vivisects into multiple separate component parts. It's a separator. So we set that aside. Now, understanding these ideas and the principles, the basics of A Course in Miracles has some value. Of course it does. It does have value. However, that pales in comparison to experience. Spirituality is all about experience, and do not let anyone ever tell you otherwise. It is about practical, hands on experience. That's how we really, really learn. We learn by putting the ideas that we're studying into practice in our daily lives. Then our experience shows us, demonstrates to us, and if you prefer, proves to us that these ideas are true. Our experience proves it to us. That's learning. This is a self-study curriculum that we don't learn unless we apply it. So we extend love to our brother. We take these ideas and we put them into practice. We forgive the Son of God. True forgiveness, as this course teaches us. We do this. And what then begins to happen? Well, if you have begun this path, then you may well know what happens is you don't see things the way you once did. When you truly set out and undertake to forgive, to set the ego aside, you can't go back to it because you discover, and you may discover very soon in the process, that it's not worthy of you as the Son of God, and it is not. So, whatever your practice looks like, it is frequently very helpful to check in, especially on those days where you're feeling like none of this is working, because that's common enough. We all experience that. But think about where you were, who you were, what your mindset was like when you started your practice, whatever that currently is, and however long you've been doing it. Are you more forgiving now? Are you more at peace now? Do you have more certainty now? Are you more confident now? Certain, i.e., certain now? Are you more loving? Do you feel more boundless, more joyful? Do you laugh more? Are you calmer, more chill, more relaxed than you were when you began? Well, we can honestly take a look and look at this, and that may show you a lot of progress. What frequently happens, and I've had this happen for me, is that things that used to bother me before I undertook all of this and started to study the course, I no longer even register with me. People that once drove me mad with rage don't enrage me at all. It doesn't even register. Perhaps you've had experiences like this. Something or someone that used to bother you to no end now no longer bothers you. You can let it go. That's a common experience. Perhaps you've had that. And let's just wrap up by coming back to the title. We have only right now. So when would awakening take place? Right now. We spend all of our time, almost all of our time, engaged in stress and worry about the past or future. When we think about the past, we think of what we woulda, coulda, shoulda done, what somebody woulda, coulda, shoulda said, and we wish they'd done that. And oh my God. And we dwell on it. Gone, gone, not here. Or we obsess about a future event that may never come, and it frequently doesn't. How many times have you worried about something and stressed out and lost sleep over it, and maybe even ruined your health over it, and it never happened? We spend almost all of our time in the past or the future. So the invitation in all spirituality, all of it, is to come back to the present. This is where the action is. It's the only time that is. It's what we've got. So if we would step outside of space and time and all of our conventions and awaken, we would do so now, right now. All right. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you have not yet subscribed, I'd love to have you join us. This is the subscription prompt here in the corner of your screen. And it's a community that has been growing here for some time. It's international, and it's a forum for us to study and discuss A Course in Miracles. So please join us and subscribe here if you have not already. Questions are always welcome. There have been a number of excellent questions here on the comment thread on YouTube. That is a perfect place to leave a question about this course or spirituality. If you have them, I will respond to those. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and I will talk to all of you very soon.